commissioners. Give them your guidance. Give them wisdom in the business at hand today. And Lord, as citizens of Marion County, let us all thank our county employees for the work they do. From the commissioners down to the men and women who actually do the work in the field. The county could not function without them. Let us remember that and give them a well done. Lord, I offer this prayer today in the name of your Son and our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on the table you have the minutes from the last meeting. So if you would either take time to review those and approve those today, or we can do it next time.
A minute to read that quick and we can decide if we want to approve or not. Okay, if there's no additions or corrections, I'll make a motion to approve the March 29th minutes as written. Second. Moved in second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
The only other administrative business that I have today is approval of Fmla leave for an employee. So we can either take time now to go into an executive session for a couple minutes, or we can do that later in the day. I know.
We just put that at the end.
Sure.
There might be a little time in there, so
Okay.
take care of that. Okay. Travis is here, so let's go ahead and get started.
I don't think I'll take much time today. What I have is I would like the commission's support and approval to change the uniform that the on-duty crew is wearing, as well as our volunteers are issued polo shirts as well. Not the same number, obviously, they don't wear them as often. But went through Western Associates, I came up with a shirt design. Do I have to be in the picture?
What?
Face over it.
Just hold the collar up there.
Yeah, I can't see that.
There, how's that?
Travis.
Wow.
One more. Thank you.
Anytime. So, I think that the lighter color and the white are going to be more visible. It also has the level of certification that each attendant has on the shirt. It's probably time to order shirts. There are guys that have been on for a couple of years that haven't got new shirts and new uniforms. In the future, I would come back with a proposal that we have a uniform allowance annually, where we could update worn stuff, things of that nature. Currently, with the volunteers and the number that I would want to get with the full-time, we would do an order of about 100 shirts at a cost of $26 a piece. So, I don't know, I'd like to move forward with that.
Do we have record how long it's been since we had any uniform upgrades? Hadn't been since I've been on the commission.
I know there's pictures that go back quite a few years with this design. So,
And you say some of them either don't have any or,
The volunteers have fewer. We've had some on, I know that they haven't replaced worn or damaged ones in over 2 years. And we actually, it's time, our closet's low on these, so it would be time to do something either way. I think it'd be a good time to update. So.
is it the construction about the same as what?
It's actually a moisture wicking that's a little lighter weight, with the intention of wearing an undershirt.
Does it have a pocket, in the pocket like?
This one actually doesn't. It's spec to have that. This is just a kind of a spec shirt, but it will have a pin pocket as well as lapel mic holders. So
Everybody countywide wears that same shirt.
will. Yep. I mean, obviously the volunteers, if they're not wearing it, I understand that. But if they're scheduled to be on the weekend, I see a lot of them wearing their polo shirt.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Like one team.
Do different counties use different colors or?
Blue's kind of EMS, kind of its thing, but yeah, I've seen gray, I've seen black, but some places do a button-up formal type uniform shirt as well.
Well, I'm just curious, because you know, we have employees that work for other counties too.
Right.
They wouldn't be wearing our shirt in their county or vice versa.
No, that won't happen, so. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase.
I'll do it. I make a motion to approve the purchase of the shirts, the 100 shirts, at $26 a piece.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded, purchase 100 shirts, $26 a piece for EMS. Personnel, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's all I have.
That's it?
Anything else for me?
How's your, have you started on your closet?
We have. We started last week and moving right along, so hopefully next couple of weeks. I guess I could add that tentatively we're looking at May 18th for an open house. When I
May
get,
18th?
yeah, and I could certainly come back with some more information. That's just EMS week would be the following week, National EMS weeks. We thought that would tie in well. The following weekend being Memorial Weekend, we thought we'd go the weekend prior to that. So, and Mr. Benke is still,
I was gonna say, you coordinate with him, because he had offered to
yeah,
meet for that.
I've been in contact with him, and once we kind of get that date set, I think I'll come back and see what we want to do as a group.
So what kind of advertising do you do for that? Just a,
Say our local newspapers, yeah, and then we may do something website wise.
you know, say, if you put that on the county website, that's what I help with.
Hopefully, by next week or the following week, we get that date set for sure. And Randy, you have access to it quicker, I
Yeah.
understand.
I got to check it off today to see if we can get it, but, yeah, I'm quite sure we can,
That date.
unless somebody else got it. I'll
Sure.
provide some.
Okay.
So maybe I can come up with buns too if the company feels good.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you.
I don't know if Isaac's here yet. If not, we could take care of the leave.
Okay? We only need
5 minutes?
yeah, at max. If you want to review it. If you don't want to, you could just do it in open session, just to, I do have an employee that has requested leave, they are eligible for leave. And, I mean, it's up to you if you want to review the paperwork or not.
I don't need any discussion on it.
Okay, so
Well,
you
if
could
they
just take
qualify.
care of that in
Okay.
open session, just say that, we just need a motion and a vote to approve the FMLA leave for a qualified employee.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the FML leave for qualified employee.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're down to Isaac, so if he isn't here, we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break. wants a cup of coffee or anything.
Well, yeah. Oh, I better shut that off. What am I seeing?
Oh, my.
Yeah, I know.
It's a very slow time of the year, I suppose.
Well, I was surprised I saw the agenda.
And no packet, right?
Yeah,
Just an agenda. It's the first time I think ever. I don't remember that ever happening prior.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what's going on.
Might be
My
weird, but not
mouth is
bad.
coming off. Yikes.
And I can fill up some space, Mr. Becker, if we have another space. I have some other things for the commission to consider.
If we're running early.
Whenever, yeah, when we have space. It's quite handy.
Yeah.
Good morning. We're in a lull right now.
Are you?
Yeah, we're waiting for our next agenda item.
I think you got the coffee more.
Yeah. Time for coffee.
Uh-oh.
No,
Jose's Cavini.
that's just Travis. It's only Travis. You never know what's going on.
Thank you. So how have you been? Did you have a good weekend? Well, good. And they never are. Never ever.
I'm just saying, that's sadly how it looks. Whether we want them or not, they're calling it technology.
Well,
Well, thank that's what they're referring to there, Ken.
Okay.
Their cost of their trucks running for just recycling, the way I understood it.
Okay, well, we'll put the county in.
Yeah.
That's a question then.
The whole recycling thing is
Yeah, exactly.
it's a big issue.
Yeah.
Where it goes, what it does.
China's just not taking it.
No.
I guess that was where a majority of the plastic went anyway. Either that or out in the middle of the ocean.
Steel, I mean, that's where that market went sky high there for a few years, you know? Then they shut it down, well, the
This is
price comes back down. It's working its way back up a little.
But they're, but here's what the legislature.
Yeah, I have that on email this morning. I haven't looked at it yet. We're calling to make sure Isaac is on his way. I don't know. We're calling to make sure he is, and if he's not, it's gonna start to come on.
Our 5 minutes is up, but we may have to extend it for another 5, waiting for Isaac to get here.
Well, I have some things we gotta talk about then, we can do
Okay.
it then.
Okay, we're gonna go back into session, and, unless Isaac is here.
Yes.
Is he here?
Scheduled
no.
for 9:30.
Yeah, he's,
Scheduled at 9:30.
yeah, he's early.
So since you were talking about the,
We're back in session now, folks.
Necessarily.
Okay.
since you were talking about the recycling, do we wanna go ahead and do a work session or something on it, and rethink what we're doing, or do we need to do something?
Well, we need to
with
spend,
it?
we do need to spend a little time on it, because it's becoming an issue, and it's costing us every month.
Yeah, and that's what, and there was a website I wanted to go to, I didn't do that yet, but, and look at some of the stuff, cause I'm just wondering, like you just said, maybe we should have a work session and get some information as to where we need to go with it.
I think Tina can probably vouch for me, is that I've been pretty cautious even with Holly. Dan was a big promoter of this, and to me, it has never paid for itself. I don't know that it will pay for itself, even when it was in its prime, so that's something that, but yet, the idea of leaving, not going in a hole in America and doing some good was what the thoughts was, so. Yeah.
Well, I think we've been accepting the fact that we've had to operate out at a loss to serve the public, but at some point in time, you just can't afford it anymore.
Do you wanna just take some time to review the information, and then we can put it on the agenda in a couple weeks and give it a couple of time
Yeah,
slots?
because
Would that-
there's some questions that the city had for us in regards to the transfer station, and I don't know if we can answer those.
Yeah, I don't think we know that.
Yeah.
Should we have him on schedule? One of those guys coming in, is he on the schedule for, give us an update of what's going on?
Not today.
Okay, no, not today, but I mean,
We probably need to have them in the next couple of weeks, I think.
I think that's,
I don't have anything.
okay.
Except
think
for
that's
Bud's
their-
normal
I
time.
think that's their plan, though. I think Bud talked to me Friday and said that they've got something in mind coming to us within a few weeks, but I don't know how soon.
Okay, I mean, I can schedule time next Monday to discuss it, or unless you want another.
Whenever probably is most convenient. Of course, we don't know the full agendas
No,
yet.
you don't. It's just a matter of how much time you want to prepare or to look for any information. So if you want 2 weeks, I can put it on the 15th or the 22nd. I mean, there's time next Monday, but it's just a matter of whether you would have the hearing by then.
Well, why don't we, my feeling is to put it on the 22nd. It gives us a little more time to maybe for when the engineers can answer a few of these questions for the
That's fine.
city.
Okay, so I'll put it on the 22nd, recycling discussion, and then we'll give it 2 time slots, 30 minutes, be okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So then another thing that I wanted to bring to the attention of the commission is that, last week, I think it was, that we had the engineer come to us and give us a report on 3/30th, and had stated that, they're just kind of surface cracks, about an inch or so deep. Well, it was brought to my attention that that's maybe not 100% correct throughout the whole road. I do have some pictures here of some of the cracks. And I hope I labeled them right, but that's right there, and that's actually buckling and cracking. And this is a picture here of Chisholm Trail, 1/8 of a mile. and you'll see how that crack is. But here's the stunning one, and this is east of Alamo. And I have, well, I will tell you, the road grade operators are the ones who brought this to my attention. And there are orange flags at different places throughout this road to where we really need to look. And here is a spot right here on east of Alamo. See this thing right here? That is an orange flag. And that flag is on a metal rod, about, I don't know how long they are. But this thing right here, they took that down 14 inches deep. So that goes a little deeper than an inch surface. And there are multiple spots to where they've done that. But I want to show you that picture.
East of Alamo?
East of Alamo, Well, they say east of Mount Alamo at Meridian North.
That's way out
Yeah, that's
on
close
the,
to the-
that's a very, yeah, that's the last mile.
Yeah, it is, that's right. But so he stuck that flag down in that crack, and it's way down there. I didn't take it out, I just left it there. But here is what you can see again, that same flag, and you can see what's left of, and I mean, those flags are long.
Yeah,
So
you get
14
different,
inches deep
but
is,
I've got different lengths of them, but
Yeah.
yeah, you
These
can,
are old big safe
Yes.
flags.
and so, and here's, it just shows you how the depth of that is, that particular, crack. And I think, did I give you a picture there of where it's breaking up in the, oh, I think you probably,
One of those.
yeah.
That one,
Okay, this right here shows where it's actually breaking up again. That's a different crack than this one great big that I showed. This is another one. I mean, and that's deep and that's wide. And the same way with this here. I just think you should drive out and see it, or maybe we should have the engineer maybe re-examine this.
yeah, I've looked at them
Because-
before. Of course, he told us it only went through the first layer.
Yes, yes. And so, this
Do you
is
want me
actually,
to scan those in and send
You
them
may.
to him?
absolutely, you know, if you'd like.
how many did you, east of Bison and east of Alamo, how many more do you have locations?
What I have is west of Chisholm,
West of Chisholm,
Bison,
east of Bison,
Alamo,
east of Alamo, and east of Meridian.
yeah, and now some is on the, see, I have west of Chisholm, east of Bison, and that's on the north side. Alamo on the south side, and the same with Alamo, there's one on the north side as well. A little, just a small distance between them, but pretty obvious.
There's
So,
several East of Eagle.
oh, and I didn't check the ones
East of
there at
Eagle.
Eagle because,
West, I'm sorry.
yeah,
West of Eagle?
yeah, because that was, he made mention of that. He did accept that, well, he did point that
Can we
out, so.
send those to engineer?
Sure, I can scan these in a little while and then I'll give you your pictures back.
That's
Are they all labeled?
Pretty much, yes. But I wanted that, because I'm hoping we still have the warranty on those.
Well, yeah.
And that, because some of those, like I say, they're gonna really, it's really starting to break away. And it was brought to my attention that some of them,
You haven't seen his brother.
when you drive on the road, and I don't understand what this exactly means, but your car does,
Hey, you guys,
you know,
we're,
it does,
we
it
are
is
in
buffering
session.
kind of. And I don't understand that, so I didn't really elaborate it. I don't understand how to explain that, so that seems as though they're telling me there's basic problems, and I don't know.
Okay,
Just saying.
we'll get those to him and he can address it back to us. Maybe he can stop by next week and,
Did you send the letters to the quarries, yet?
I prepared a letter and took it down to Road and Bridge.
Oh, okay, okay. And I had a phone call from Burkamp, they would also like to be included because they think that their rock is qualified and they're gonna get it tested, so,
okay,
From east of Lincolnville, is that?
yes. Yeah, they called and wanted to have the opportunity, if they can prove that their rock is qualified.
all right, Isaac, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so just to give you guys a little update, we did have our 11th annual John Wayner crappie tournament this past weekend. We had a good turnout. We had 18 people. We ended up raising about $400 for the dock. Fishing was very slow. There were two crappie caught after only 4 hours, but
The big winner.
yeah, yeah.
They got a bait to look.
Yeah, right. It was a good event though. We were able to sit in there and talk about some things that they would like to see done with the dock.
it's on the outside walkway around the dock that are getting pretty mushy. Which brought me last year, I've talked about through the CFAP program, which we are a part of, through the state, we can get a grant for the dock. I've been working with Craig Johnson, who's the fish biologist out there. He told me if we need any help, he's more than welcome to help us, because it's something that he sees a great benefit for the lake, which I completely agree with him. This is the application. It's due June 1st. And now, with what he was telling me, you can do it in bits and pieces. Every year they have this same grant out, and he said you can apply as many times as you want. If there's just things you want to focus on, or if you want to try to get as much money as possible and just try to get as much done as possible in 1 year, he said it just, it depends on your time and money and that with what you want to do. I wanted to talk to you guys. It is something that I would definitely like to apply for. Last year, by the time he had brought it up to me, it was like right at the deadline, and we ended up not even applying for it. But this year, it's something that I think we do need to look into, especially even if we just focused on the flooring inside the dock or around the dock. That's kind of a priority with where I'm at, just for safety reasons. There's two spots that definitely need attention. But I just wanted to see, because I know we talked about the possibility of dry docking it at one point and just trying to do as much as we can and work on everything, because I did talk to a gentleman who had helped, I think, when Steve was out there, and he said when they try to do a section of the flooring, they ran into the issue that underneath their support is also rotten. So, just I guess how far do we want to get into the repair? The two guys I talked to that have done work on it mentioned that everything underneath needs to be redone if you're going to redo the floor. Because if you pull it up, he said the floats, which are now not even legal, but just this foam floats that they originally put in there, are soft. All the joists are soft. And so I figured I'd bring it up and see if you guys had any ideas as to where we want to go with this.
So is that a matching grant of any kind, or just
It is.
straight grant? It's matching.
It's not a matching. So we're 25%. They're 75%. And like with what Craig was saying, volunteer labor, you can use that labor as part of your monetary value. Part of your 25% you can use in labor. So if we could get volunteers, he said technically the volunteer labor could cover your whole 25%, depending on how much you wanted to apply for.
Well, I hate to just spend money when we know that the whole thing has a problem.
That's the idea. I mean, you want to just patch it? That's all we've done for quite a while.
But then again, if we don't do something, it's going to keep getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And that was kind of,
You don't want somebody falling through the floor.
You haven't by any chance just researched, I mean, to the web or something, to where there's other types of docks being made today?
so the most recent one, I believe, is Eureka, and they just did a big update on theirs, which is a lot smaller than ours. Their heated dock, but they redid. I think they put new floats under it, and they did a new flooring, and I think they even did a whole new insulated ceiling over there, which I haven't seen it. I was talking to a gentleman by the name of Dean Schmidt, who was there at the tournament this weekend, and he's been going to the dock for a long time. Eureka and here in Marion. And he was telling me about it, that they were kind of in the same situation we were at one point, where they had talked about fixing it up for probably 5 or 6 years, and then they finally they didn't do a complete remodel, but they did a significant amount on theirs. It's still the same frame and everything on their dock there, but they just did that last year, I believe. And as far as research, I've looked into it a little bit, just for kind of get a basic icing on the floats and the marine grade plywood for the flooring.
My suggestion to the commission would be to authorize Isaac to get a hold of whatever county person took that in under their wings. I don't know whether it's a county
Okay.
person or whether it's Lake and Fish Biology did, or who did the work
The last time,
on the update of
Eureka.
Eureka.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'd like to see him find out and go down and take a look at it, take pictures of it, and bring it back to us. That's the closest one we know of.
Be a good start.
I mean,
Trying to think where others, there's a couple others around the state. There's not a lot of heated docks.
I think they're down to 3 days. There was 4 and they took
Is
one
there
out.
another one on one of the reservoirs?
I think it's
Melbourne?
Melbourne, yeah.
I wonder what theirs compares to.
And I haven't seen that either.
You might call the Corps over there and ask them if they can send you a picture of theirs, or, give you a little information on it.
if Eureka updated their floats, that's something underneath of ours is we know that's bad.
Yes.
And to me, you gotta have a float or you don't have docks.
Right.
And so I'd like to know more about it.
Okay.
I'd like for you to know more about it and see if it's possible for maybe the company that they had some people come out and say, yeah, we can build you floats for.
Right.
So maybe if they did it for that, maybe they come out for ours. That's
Okay.
just sort of some rough thinking.
Okay.
Because I don't have no ideas. I don't swim. But
Okay,
that's just an idea if it's okay with the commission.
I think we need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah,
And Eureka's less than 2 hours away,
right.
you know.
And I can talk to Craig and see if he has any knowledge on whether or not they helped with it. And like I said, this is due June 1st, so we have a little bit of time to get some stuff figured out. I just wanted to bring it back up because I know we talked about it last year, and when we brought it up last year, it was like, I think last week of May, so.
Where's the commission, do they want to get rid of it? Do they?
Well, it's a pretty popular spot. I don't think you want to consider
Yeah,
that.
the county up north.
Well, you gotta find out whether somebody's behind you or not. I haven't heard that yet, so that's why you asked that question.
I mean, conceivably, you probably could get some volunteer help on some of that.
Yes. And I know, just talking down there during the crappie tournament, every single one of them that were in there were more than happy, and they said they know people that would definitely help out. I don't think getting help would be hard at all.
Eureka, is that a city lake?
I believe so.
It's not a county lake.
I don't think so. Next thing I had is we do plan on, hopefully this week, weather's been kind of hit or miss. We're gonna try to get Rock to do the inside of Lakeshore Drive, all of our inside roads. They are very bad. Gerald's been trying to drag up and around the rock that we do have there that has washed out. He's been able to make it a little better, but this week we are hoping to get that, and we talked about this the last time I was in there, just have them actually dump it where we need it, opposed to take it to the shop and have us move it. So hopefully we can get that taken care of this week. I know we've talked about the residential roads as well, and I wanted to bring that up today just to kind of see where the commission is on what exactly they're wanting us to do, because the plan is to have a driver for a couple of days, and he's just going to bring us rock as we need it. And I know we talked about there for a while, you guys wanting us to help take care of some of those outside roads. And if it is what you guys want us to do, I feel like it'd be a great time for us to be able to get some of that taken care of before we get too busy this summer. And while we do have a driver, because there's a lot of roads out there, and what I saw in the little time that we started helping is once we started putting rock down, and people saw that, I got a lot of calls from people saying that their roads need attention to, and I just didn't have the rock to do it, and at the time. But if it is something that we're concern is, one, is if we do it and take over all the roads out there, the rock will help, but from what I've seen and from what we've put down, after 2 rains, it's gone. The majority of it is gone. Whether it's just washed down, or it's, the last stuff we got was kind of dusty, just crumbled up. And it's gonna be a lot of rock to throw on it for something that might not last that long. And that's my big concern with it.
What's been the county's responsibility in the past to those? Do you have any history or anything?
You mean inside the lake or where?
No, I mean those outer roads, what Isaac's talking about.
The outer roads is we just pass through holes and stuff like that. The last big thing that the county did was, and that's been quite a few years, we put the millings down. That's when we had some millings, use it, but that's been a basic part of it.
17 years.
It's been a while, it's been a long time.
I think we need to do something. I mean, they're taxpayers, they need to have some services as well. But I don't know, and he said about the rock that we put down here the last couple of turns of powder, again, I don't know what kind of quality you got,
Right,
so I don't know where we can even go with that.
right.
I mean, I'd hate to think that if we continue to put rock, it's just gonna disappear right away.
And that's the
But then
part.
again, when you said in the next breath that it disappeared, then it makes me wonder what quality we put down.
Right.
Because, yeah.
A lot of that rock washes up, doesn't it?
It does, and
Because they're in it.
that's kind of the big problem out there is, one, those residential roads, a lot of them are at a slope, but underneath them is nothing but just rock, hard rock, the bedrock. So you put that rock in when the water comes, I mean, it moves, and it just, I mean, it won't wash it all, but it'll always create some kind of little runway for the water, and it'll just move all that stuff.
So
The
just
roads are
washing
at an
it,
angle too,
Yeah.
up down to also left to right. There's nothing,
if it's
square
washing
right
it,
there.
Isaac, where
If
is it
they're
going? Do
without
you
any-
see the
so-
rock, something?
Yeah, you can see it as it moves down, and then that's what kind of what I was explaining. Gerald had been, like last week or so, he's been trying to scoop it back up and push it up, and it helps, but it's far from
So
a
without-
decent
Without
fix.
proper drainage, we're just wasting money.
And that's the problem, is that there is no
Proper slope.
drainage out there.
On the roads and stuff, right?
well, they were made 60 years ago with no planning. There used to be a cart path.
Well, yeah, I got that, but I'm just saying, now that we're not 60 years in the future, we need to
The only
maybe
way
look
you
at
could do
something
anything
else.
is blacktop and that would hold it in. You want a blacktop.
Or the millings, like you said, the millings.
No,
They
you have
did,
to,
they did pretty good for a while.
millings will wash out.
It
then
did
they-
real good for a while on the flatter road.
On the flat
yes.
roads.
If they're on thick enough, too, that helps.
And I
If they're
think
on thick enough.
if you take, it was Spacek built it, I don't know who lives there now, I can't remember his name, I don't read meters. Almagers, yes.
Yeah,
That-
that washes out daily.
I mean, yeah, that hill is a prime example. We never got nothing till I think Almager put the concrete in, or
Himself.
I think when they moved in, yeah. So anyway, you're they're not gonna be able to do it, let's put it that way.
Right.
To help it.
If I remember right, the county provided the screening, and the residents credit to impact them.
Yeah, well,
County didn't put it down, we just provided the screening.
right,
Monty Thomas group went out and spread it.
Was it screenings or millings?
Millings, it was
The
kind of
black
like
stuff.
asphalt,
Yeah,
but
okay.
not
Okay. millings.
solid.
so it's a big question, big expense, I mean, it's not gonna be cheap.
I guess, to me, those areas have gone in, and evidently, there was never any commitment from the county to
From my
maintain those.
And see, that's where I think because from my understanding, when this is from Gerald, I was talking to him, when Steve was here, kind of all they did was had a stockpile at the shop. They try to keep a stockpile at the shop, and they would just let residents come and get it, and if they had a truck, they would load them up, and they would all do their own. And that's the way that they have always done it since they went in and put those millings in for the last time. And it's just, I think it's just gotten to the point now where they're so bad it's not.
Well, I'm just wondering, I know that's the way we've always done it,
Yeah.
but looking at where we are now and where we're going in the future,
Yeah.
maybe we need to come up with a better plan, where we wanna go. Because the way we've always done it worked
Right.
back then,
Yeah.
but it's not working today.
The biggest thing, Ken, is you're not gonna be able to get no drainage because you don't have the footage. I mean, the narrows, some of them down to 30 foot through there and stuff. And you just, what
Oh,
you
I
have
agree.
is, what you have is the waterway. I mean, everything's included, so that's
it's
why
just
you have
a
to.
lot. And as those houses have sold over the years, like evidently the new property owners take for granted, it's probably never been disclosed that this really isn't a maintained road you live on. County maintained road.
How would we get a plan, or how would we go about getting a recommendation from somebody that could tell us what we can fix and what we need to do to fix, or something like that? I know some of the roads are just gonna be a challenge and a half, but some of them, I think we can go in and do some good.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, and then some, we might have to have some expertise or something to guide us, or maybe we can, maybe we can't.
Can I make a comment about when they put the sewer and the water in, people who did it, instead of digging down deep enough to bury that, they just piled more dirt or rock on top of the road. My yard, the road has grown since I've had the house this much, over a foot. I've got timbers on top of a concrete wall that was there when I bought the place, but the road has, and that's caused another problem. It makes it steeper to my neighbors down to the west.
He's at the bottom of the hill and he catches everything.
Yeah,
Well, but I'm not clear at the bottom. There's
Well,
another
You're close.
residence down there that
You're
that
close.
it washes down there. I put some gravel between my driveway and my mailbox, and my neighbor came down and screamed at me because I was making the hill higher, making the water go down to his house. So, but the road is grown, and that is a problem.
I
To
agree.
fix it right, you need to get in there and do it. But then, you've got a problem with water in the sewer, maybe not be very deep enough.
At the time, they just put on top of rock, because otherwise they'd have been chiseling rock to get through, get it deep enough.
But that's part of the problem, is some of those roads, when the sewer and water came in, the roads elevated to where it's changed the whole aspect of the whole thing.
I don't know. My issue with the whole thing is whether we're gonna accept all that responsibility, because it never was the county's to begin with. And of course, it wasn't planned out very well when they started building and building and building. This is what you end up with.
but it's the county's now, right?
No,
It's
Not?
not reflected on our taxes.
It's
Not really.
not?
It's not designated as ours.
Who gets the tax money?
it's the same way out of the East Shore. Those aren't county roads, that's subdivision roads.
I meant the housing and all that stuff is not county. I mean, that's what my question is, I thought that.
You mean the roads in front of them?
Yeah,
No, those are not county,
those are private property roads.
private property roads.
That's what it was originally, some of them was originally designed as, except for Weldon's addition. The county
Right.
accepted that addition because it was put in with the proper width and stuff on all of that.
And that was blacktop too, wasn't it?
Yeah, they originally did that, yes. Yes, when they put the subdivision in.
Oh,
And then, like I said, as
I
those
would-
properties were sold over the years, there was never any disclosure, I suppose, that said, the road in front of you is not a
We
county
have
road.
zoning rules, but there's no property line on these roads. Property line, where is property line? Across the road, in the middle of the road, side of the road? So I can build what is essentially on the road.
that's part of your property line now, right?
Where is the property line?
Well, I don't know.
If you have the road to yours, who's on it?
Well, that's where I'm going, I mean, what's going on here?
He has to build 6 foot back from the property line,
Yeah, but
so you could build on the road.
I can build on the road. I don't want to.
I think it's probably time, if we're gonna address something, probably address and see whether, property owner wants to put a special on and do it right. I mean, that's,
Probably the way to go.
Then you'd be talking about new surveys too, because
new
you
surveys
have
and
to
things like that.
determine
and I mean,
what
it's
property.
not a small project, whatever we do, but I really think that county decides how they chip in, how they help with this. I mean, it's,
I think we need to do something like that.
If that's what they
Just-
really want.
it's what the city council does when they want to come in, they put specials on if they're gonna up the streets and stuff, so we'd be no different, so.
I think we should at least look at that.
I guess that's something that
I really don't
residents in
think
those
that,
areas have to be surveyed on.
I think your quest though is, we're getting back to Isaac, I think his quest is to try filling in some of the rock that does keep, whether it comes down again.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I guess that was just kind of my big question, because once we started, because there was 3 or 4 times we helped, and it seemed like once we started helping, I started getting more and more calls.
Oh, you will?
Sure.
Yeah, and I guess that was kind of where I was going with it, just because, I mean, we can keep helping, but there were definitely times I felt like we were kind of throwing rock at something that it's just not going to stay there. And that's kind of where my concern was. I mean, we could keep doing it, but
I'd say that if the millings were kind of a short-term fix, maybe you should let Road and Bridge keep an eye out for some, get a hold of some somewhere.
I think what's happened, the ones we got had quite a bit of oil in them, and they sort of did a
Stuck?
good job. Yeah, they stuck, but if you get some dry ones, they'll go
It may
down the
not
road,
be any better than.
they'll go just like rock. I mean, they'll wash away like rock, not quite as fast maybe. Because county boys have tried some on hills, and it helps for a while, but then it washes away too. So.
And then my last thing is, and this was just a question that was brought up right now, and I don't think they ever have, as far as camping goes, taking reservations out there at the lake. Everything's been on a first come, first served basis. It's something that we could potentially do. We've talked about right now, and I don't know where it came from. All of our camping spots are labeled. They're not in any kind of order. Some of them are letters and some of them are numbers. It's something that we have talked about going through there and actually putting numbers on them, labeling them, drawing it out, so we know what exactly is everywhere. And the possibility of taking reservations, we do have a credit card machine there in the office now, throughout the summer. I don't know if it's something the commission would be interested in, but it's just something that I've been asked about multiple times, and I figured I'd see if you guys had any input on it. I don't know if it's just something they've never done because they hadn't had credit card machines, or the problem of people reserving and not showing up. I know that had been an issue for a while, but I don't think they had a prepay. I know where if you paid, then you reserve it, but it's not reserved until it's paid for. And I wanted to ask and see if it's something that you guys would be interested in looking into.
My first question to you is, has a citizens requested it?
Yes.
Okay. Second question, should there be an additional cost for that?
That's a good question.
Third thing, should the same person get the same spot every weekend?
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
there's
Yeah,
all kinds
right,
of things here.
yeah.
As I see the routine is you take your camper out on Wednesday, Tuesday, or Wednesday night, depends on how many nights you want to pay for, and stay out there ahead to hold the weekend.
Right.
I mean, that's just life. I mean,
That's a good question.
but but that's the way it is right now, I believe. is
Right.
You're first come, first serve, and
Yep.
if you go out there on Tuesday night and you want a certain spot,
Yep.
you put your camper out there and you pay for Tuesday night through
Yeah. Till you leave.
until you leave.
Yeah. Yep, and that's the way.
And they do have to stay there.
Say that again?
Do they have to stay and have residents in there that night?
They can be empty for one night while it's there. It can be there with nobody in it.
I think there's 3 or 4 things you can consider here on what you, if you want to.
What do you wanna do? I mean, what was your,
I do believe it would be, and this is where, kind of where the issue comes up, is I get calls from people all the time from, let's say, Wichita or Salina, and they say, well, I don't get off of work until 6 o'clock, and let's say, like, for the Bluegrass Festival, or Memorial Day, or Labor Day, and they say, do you have a spot open right now? And it's, yeah, we do, but I can't promise you by the time you get here, that spot is still gonna be open. And that's really where most of the reservations have been requested. requested from are situations like that.
Is that inside the trailer park you're talking about, or just around the lake?
Just around the lake, and it's mainly really the only, and as far as reservations go, I was thinking more for just the hookups, like electrical and water, and that's where the issue comes up. With people, it's almost always with people with campers, because, you know, there's a limited amount of actual hookups. And they just called and asked, and there's been a couple situations where we have had spots open, and normally I'll just say there are, but I can't promise they're gonna be here, and we have had a couple times where somebody has called in and come down, and by the time they came down, it's been booked. And I know, you know, this is the way it is, but it was just something that I've been asked about enough that I figured I should bring it up since we could do it, I think.
It's almost like a motel room, you know, you
Yeah,
wanna reserve
yeah.
a motel room, you pay.
Right, and that's how, I mean, I think that's how we would do it, is if you called to reserve it, you'd pay for it right
Right.
there, and it's non-refundable.
All the federal resident orders do it.
Yeah.
I mean, does that take some additional software or computer, or just using a spreadsheet?
I think we could do it on a spreadsheet, but we'd have to go through, and like I said, and it wouldn't be hard, but get all those campsites that we have out there labeled in a proper manner. Because right now you have number 15, and I don't know when they ever labeled them, but you have like a 15 and like a 54 right next to it. And so I'm not sure what was going on when they did it, but I would like to go through and try to get it a little more organized. And I don't, as far as I know, they've never taken reservations out there, though. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, is that something that you wanna pursue?
Look into, okay.
What about the person who wants to reserve 51A for every weekend all summer?
Well, and that's a good question that I hadn't thought about. And I don't know, yeah, right, if there is a
Well,
spot
you
that
can
somebody
just limit it
loves.
to week at a time. We're only taking reservations for this weekend,
Right.
or maybe 2 weeks out. I mean, I wouldn't say 1 week.
Right.
That would be kinda difficult.
But if it's a
Couple weeks out.
person who really wants that spot, he'll be the first one to call right after he leaves. So, I mean, you're not
Right.
gonna defer that, if that's what he really, really wants.
Right,
Yeah. They're probably gonna do whatever they need to do
Yeah.
to get it for the next week.
right.
I mean, it just.
I
Anyway.
mean, there's some prime spots that people want out there.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
that's
Could you
what-
set a limit on how many times in a row, I mean, that they could
I would
have it,
think
or
so,
the
yeah.
length of time that they could have it before they would have to move to a different spot?
I would just, all I'd want to be is fair with everybody.
Right,
That's
yeah.
all we want.
And you'd be the one getting the complaints if
Right.
somebody said somebody's been out there half the summer.
Yeah.
You know, you could-
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We could allow you to set that
Yeah.
restriction
Okay.
where you felt right.
Do you hear much about that I want this spot and I can never get it, or do you ever
I
hear that?
you know, I don't.
Is it a problem?
It hasn't been, but there's definitely spots out there that are the first ones to fill up every weekend. If it's empty, usually the first campers go there. I haven't ever, I mean, I've only been here for one, you know,
Season.
actual summer, and I didn't have anybody last year complain, well, I want this spot, and there's always somebody in it. I never heard that.
Maybe most people just know first come, first served.
Yeah, I'm-
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
And I think the majority of them do.
but you're changing the rules now. You're changing the rules.
Yeah, it would be a change.
So, I guess come up with a plan, is the way it sounds. I mean,
Okay. Yeah. And that's it for me.
Have you started the inspections on the side-by-sides and stuff like that?
So that was actually another question. I was curious if we had a
We
resolution.
don't have a resolution yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if Brad's bringing that.
Oh, that's right, we need to sign
Okay.
it.
Okay. Yeah, but we do have, that was another thing, is that we do have the dock inspections, by May 1st. And that's something that we go through, and May 1st, all the docks have to be up to standard. I know that there are still quite a few of them that have their walkways underwater from moving them out last year when the water was still low, and now it's come up. They're at least halfway underwater, which the way the book states right now, everybody has until May 1st. We started going through and just giving people a heads up call on changes that we need to see. But they do have until May 1st, but that is
have it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I think it'd help you quite a bit.
Anything else, Isaac?
That'll do it for me.
Okay, thank you. Lisa here? Yeah, Lisa.
Morning. Interesting day. How are you? Good. No pranks yet?
Not
yet. No, not yet.
We're waiting on you. We heard you was bringing one.
I've had a prank all day.
Okay.
Mine's really fast and simple for you. Real estate valuations, as you guys know, went out March 1st. We're still in the process of doing hearings. So far, we've had about 120, which is about twice as many as we had last year. Everything's going good, though. Hopefully, we'll be completed by the middle of this month. Once that's done and results and everything have been sent, then I'll start on the real estate certification. We are in the middle of personal property values and started oil and gas today. Those are due out on May 1st. Then they have about 15 days to appeal. So everything is on track, going well. Re-inspection, we've determined the areas that we're going to re-inspect this year. It's going to be Clear Creek, Liberty, and West Branch will be the townships, and then Peabody will be the city this year. So that's, like I said, we haven't really gotten out yet, been busy with everything else. And then scope of work was mailed. It's due on April 15th, and I mailed it back in February, so that's good. So that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions for me?
So your appeals process has been going smoothly?
Everything's been smooth. We've had a few, but that's okay. We take them and handle them when they come in, and no problems.
Clear Creek, West Branch, and what was the third one?
Liberty,
Liberty.
yes. And then Peabody will be the city. That's it for me.
Anything else from the commission for Lisa?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
You bet. You guys all have a good one.
Yep.
See, I got you guys back.
Okay, I guess we're still waiting on Brad, so, go ahead, Diane. You said you had something else?
Yeah, I had just one or two more questions to ask. And that is, on the transportation grant that I brought up, are we working on that still, or has that been kind of put on hold, or?
I haven't worked on it lately because we've been working on insurance and other things. So, do have some of the basic information.
Okay, is that something that so far that you have a gut feeling that we might be able to implement, or?
Well,
Yes,
you're gonna
you're
have to
still-
budget for it.
Got
I
it.
mean,
Got it.
so,
And you'd have to find out roughly though what we're going to be doing, how many cars and things like that to get how much we're gonna spend and things, and then the grant comes in, because I think it's about an 80-20 or something that they pay. They pay a lot. I gave all that information.
sure.
So I don't have that anymore, but I had pretty close to an estimate of what it was. I can't remember anymore. So, okay. And then the other thing is on the MCC EDC, had you got the payroll papers yet?
Yes, I believe you were sent them.
No.
You
I
did,
think
we sent you everything we had.
the payroll papers were in there. I'll have to go back and check my emails. I don't recall seeing that. Okay.
I picked them up, when, on the day I was off. I stopped by and picked them up.
I'll go back and relook at my file. I obviously overlooked it.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that's everything that I have. I do have one other question. There was a Met Tower put up on 100th and 110th Mustang Road, and that's by the Catlin Cemetery. The Catlin Cemetery Board, I'm sorry, is inquiring. It was a temporary one. Do we have any idea when those temporary Met Towers come down? Or is that written somewhere, or what is our definition of temporary? I mean, I'm just wondering. It was a question that I was asked and I couldn't answer.
That would be
So
part of the
name-
permit, wouldn't it?
I would assume, but I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never seen it in writing. What do we determine temporary?
I don't know, but there's still a Met Tower out northwest Marion County from time and visited. It hadn't come
But now,
down yet.
was it deemed temporary though? And I don't know
Well,
what makes some
I would
temporary and
think
some
that
not, I
they
don't
were-
know.
They were all, you know, an instrument used to measure wind, so I don't know if, maybe some of them aren't temporary. I
I think
can't
that's a
answer.
question you need to ask Sharon.
Well, Sharon,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sharon.
okay,
I mean, they're permitted, so.
okay, well, I mean, okay, I'll ask Sharon that, I just thought maybe somebody would remember or would know, and, so.
There seems to be one tower somewhere that somebody, the landowner says that no longer has a contract for.
Oh,
I don't know where that's at, but I think, I just wonder if that's it.
I don't know, no, they didn't say that,
1/10
they were just
must have.
wondering, and I didn't know some of them were designated as temporary.
I think they all are.
Well, yeah, well, and I say that because of the ones up north yet, that are still there, but
Well, I've had one out there for almost 5 years now. It didn't work for a couple, 3 years.
is that
I mean,
temporary?
really. Huh? Well, yeah, it's temporary, it's on the lease, I got it in here somewhere, some of the file crap. Yeah. This is temporary, and I tried to get rid of it for 5 years, but, well, it's temporary, and they're still using it, you know, so they can re-up it every year, so the lease.
Well, I'll have to check that out, then, I thought maybe somebody knew, but, okay, so obviously nobody knows, okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay, well, we're waiting on our counselor to arrive, so, I think we'll go ahead and take a 10-minute, or you have something, Randy?
Back to Diane's statement, I guess, Diane, what will be our goal with the transportation deal? I mean, I understand it can help, but we have a wide variety of 3 or 4 bigger cities, and then we have a whole bunch of little ones, and I guess a goal of how it's set up to work in our county is, before I don't mind going after it, I'm just saying I'd like to have.
That would be a part of the grant application where you would have
Well,
to
yeah, and
specify.
I have, well, I use Morris County, of course, as my example, and talk about a small county, I mean, they're half our size. They're what, 5,000, almost 6,000 people, and they do it, and they have, they have 4 cars, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And they, last year, had submitted for the 5 cars, because what it is, and the goal, to me, is to provide the service. It's a service to the people, to our sick people, to our elderly people, to people who don't have transportation, or families that can take them, you know, whether it be dialysis, chemotherapy, grocery store, whatever it would be to provide the service. And with the grant money that's there, the fact that they pay for the cars, they pay our wages, why would we not want to? I mean, it's wonderful over there. It works awesome.
I stopped and talked to stopped her, she was pulling into Dollar General in Strong City, or no, Cumberland Falls, and talked to the driver there one day, what she does and what she doesn't do. It was very interesting to listen to what she does and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, you have to budget for the drivers.
Yeah, and I don't know, she was paid, and,
Yeah.
so,
Okay. But again, the grant does include that, you know, it's a big bundle. It includes amazing things. When I asked Dinah about that over there, she said out of their own budget, and again, without having the budget in front of her,
right,
she said she's thinking that they pay about $25,000 a year out of their tax dollars to pick up the different expenses. Now, that was with 4 cars.
right.
I don't know what, you know, the 5th, but, and I thought, well, for that kind of money, the service that we, because I know, what I'm hearing a lot of the time is a lot of your elderly people or your sick people and stuff that live in Marion, they're actually moving to different places like that for health reasons and so on and so forth. And that's a dramatic change. If you're born and raised somewhere, you live here, and now you have to move, where we can provide a service for that and keep them here, keep the tax dollars and things here, and give them, you know, quality of life. I just think it would be an awesome. I really marvel at Morris County and the ones who do provide those services to the people. That's my goal, and that's why I keep bringing it up, because and if we can't do it, if it's something that the board don't want to do it, or we don't have anybody to do it, or whatever, then I would like to maybe offer it to the city or something, maybe they could take and run with it or something, so that the service, you know, I'd hate to see it just be lost. Since you're not gonna get that kind of
The
money.
cities qualify for it also?
I was gonna say, I was gonna offer it to them, I'm not sure how that works, but I would sure check into it before I would just let it go to the wayside.
She had to have, I think she had to have a CDL for a driver's license.
Really?
Yeah, for the minivan, bus type deal. What, it was probably 16,000. They had two sizes over in Jason County, I think. Two sizes, and this was a smaller one she was driving.
And I don't know, does it have to be a minivan?
I don't
See,
know.
we'd have to, there's so much, because
That's what
Bonnie
they had.
didn't mention anything about minivan, but, again,
Seems
it's
like there
all,
would be so many times there'd only be one person, you'd think they'd just be running cars.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too, that cars too would be.
But you got wheelchair accessibility,
That's true.
so you gotta have a van for the wheelchair to go into.
All that ADA stuff,
Yeah, but we're just saying that, you know, cars and vans, we wouldn't have to have all
you
vans.
might have to have, right, yeah, you might have to have a van or two. Those, well, we know what the handicap accessible vans cost.
Yeah.
So,
So,
And if you take it back and get a second price, you might get it cheaper.
and actually, if we do something like that, I don't know that we would have to have both, you know, at the age in the van and everything, it could all be put into one. So, I'm just guessing, I mean, it's just options.
Diane, I have a comment.
Dave?
On your saying people moving away for health problems.
Yes,
Well, that's also a good thing, because older people are moving out of these big homes, and younger people coming to town to replace them. You take one person out and bring 4 people into that home.
yeah, I
So,
understand what you're
Marion
saying.
has that problem now. Elm Street used to be, everybody's single residency, all of Elm Street. It has changed the last 5
Yeah, it has.
years.
And I understand that.
Randy can talk to
but-
that, he's seen all the single people living in nice big homes, and there's nothing for the young people to come to town to buy. So it's a double-edged sword.
Well, to me, it's kind of not, because, you know, if it's my home, and I bought it and paid for it, I'd like to live there as long as I possibly can. And then when I'm dead or whatever, let the young person come in. But up in the meantime, I'd like to at least have that ability. You know, I hate to say you have to move, because we want your home, but,
It's cold for the fact.
well, that is pretty cold and hard.
There is some young people that are rebuilding, remodeling those homes and stuff like that. I've been in a couple lately.
Okay, Brad is now with us.
Good morning. Come on, Brad.
Good morning.
Made it just in the nick of time. Good.
Bring sunshine with you.
Just kind of filtering through a little bit.
Out here just in time for you to take over.
Okay.
Go ahead.
2 items. One, we had discussed the potential alternatives for road maintenance or construction in settings specifically requested by citizen in either low maintenance or minimal maintenance type of a setting. I've made a number of phone calls to other jurisdictions, primarily counties, well, exclusively counties, in the area primarily, but also a few others that are more populated, just to get a sense of what the broad spectrum of things are. Several that I had mentioned at the time are still viable. The benefit district approach is something that some use, but again, pretty much across the board, they only really use that if there's a development. I mean, if you're going to be looking at a number of properties being developed in the middle of one of those roadways, and it leads to the obvious conclusion that they've reached that I would suspect is uniform. When you're out in the country and you don't have a lot of properties out there anyway, you're really still spreading those costs over a very limited number of properties. And again, in a number of instances, because it is undeveloped property and usually either ag land or
grassland. The other property owners along there are not terribly interested in what the cost would be to them for that kind of a benefit district, even spread over an extended period of time. So it doesn't always turn out to be terribly viable, and if you declare it a main arterial, that it's countywide, that you spread it anyway, so it's basically the same request you've already received. If you use it as, well, this is basically a roadway that's used by a limited number, then that benefit district is usually defined by what property is contiguous to that roadway. There are very limited instances where you can also extend that a bit, but that's hard to do. That gets to be very uphill very quickly, because we then have to demonstrate that the benefit to surrounding sections are in some way being sufficiently benefited that you can spread that benefit district out further. Hard to do. And my experience with that has not been particularly positive. So I don't know that I necessarily recommend that, but it is an option. The current policy that we have in place with the split cost in those kinds of instances is about as liberal as any that I have found. Dickinson County, obviously, which ours was somewhat patterned after, does that, but most of the others in the area do not. They basically, like Sedgwick County, for example, look at it and go, unless there's a number of properties out there that are in some way adding significantly to tax base, because they can do a case by case, and they acknowledge that that can always be looked at, but generally speaking, in the vast majority of the time, they don't do anything at all. I mean, we're farther along than they are. Theirs are like, you put it in, want to dedicate it to us at that point, okay, we'll consider that. It's not even that that's absolute, but that, we'll consider maintaining it at that level, in other words, but they won't do it. And I haven't found any others in the area that are any more generous than we are. They may go ahead and allow something on a case-by-case basis in terms of assistance with labor, like some of what we do in terms of the installation, but nothing more than that. So I guess the bottom line answer I can give you is, from what I can tell, you're already offering, on average, if you want to use that as your starting point for comparison, as much, if not more, than what I'm seeing in other counties. So that then gets you down to like the stipend suggestion, or doing something that you set up as a uniform type of administrative policy, or, well, this is what we'll do in these instances, or no, we're going to live with what we've currently got.
Sorry, I mean, if I'm gonna go buy 80 acres, and I wanna make sure that I got a road to it, most people put their road to it. That's, if that's what they really want, that 80 acres up there for to go to.
Well, in this case, that individual had presumed, I believe, that since there had been a homestead there, and since there was still electric and water, I believe, to that property, that fell out of that scope. Which, like you said, okay, there's your case-by-case instance. And so, I don't think the commission wants to particularly get into a case-by-case instant, but there's always sometimes a little bit different situation too.
You get different facts presented to you in those cases, and I'll be the first to tell you that you run into that as many days as you're alive, that you can find reasons that one might justify it more so than another. And that really comes down to a call on your part, as to just how far do you want to go with that, and do you want to reconsider in those circumstances. I don't particularly like the case-by-case approach to it either, just because someone can always make a compelling argument at some level, and I don't blame them. I would too. I mean, they're looking at their own self-interest, and they should. But if you're going to have something that you uniformly observe, then you either do or you don't.
And I like the policy that we have, because like you said, it is generous, and he made the choice to live there, or whatever, and the farmhouse is deteriorated, and we see that everywhere, so that's not really gonna be unique. So, that's just my thought. I think we had a good policy established, and I like it. Because when you, like you said, when you start rearing off to that, case by case, which is where we've been for the last 50 years, that's where people get into the favoritism type thing, or the appearance of that.
Yeah, regimented, I know, frustrates people if it's like, well, this is how we do it and that's all we care about. That's not necessarily true either. I mean, I understand someone's unique circumstances, but I don't know how to offer up something that's gonna be good for all every time. There isn't. I was mildly surprised. I thought that certainly there would be some of the counties in the area that were more liberal than what we had done, perhaps, especially one that's more populated in Sedgwick County that has a lot of development out in the county areas, but they are not, and he was shocked at what we were offering. He thought that was more than they would consider doing, because the cost of that would be fairly significant to them as well, and now we won't offer up that much.
Forward on anything at this point?
I'm happy with the way it is myself. I mean, I know it's sad, and I know it's a bite of money, but you know, when you're getting ready to build a home and all that, and we have already several young families that they didn't like the cost either, but they did it.
You just don't wanna get to where they just pour the rock on top of a crappy road. I think that's why part of the policy was in place, so that we get the base built.
Yeah.
So we have a good road for them to, and for quite a while. That's,
And the way yours is drawn in terms of the installation side of it being controlled and the quality of that by the county, that does alleviate a significant part of that concern.
that's number one. What's number two?
The other is an executive session on litigation matters. I need to update you on a number of things.
Before we start that, one question I have for you. You know, we've talked about, you know, the problems we have on our roads. And we have an issue of people farming our ditches. I think we need to start the process of notifying landowners, and that's not gonna be happening anymore. And I don't know the best way to do that other than public notices to begin with, you know, and maybe evolve into personal notices. But I think we need to start the process of a public notice saying that, you know, we can't have a good road if you're farming out on it.
Or putting your hay bales on your, invading
Yeah,
our
or
right
storage,
of ways.
farming or storage.
Or right of ways, yes. Keeping things out.
And I think that's probably something we need to start noticing on this spring. So,
And there are statutes in that have fines and
Yes.
so on associated with that, am I right?
Well, and then some of the resolution types of things we just dealt with. We could go ahead and do one that, you know, is just almost superfluous, but it gives you a way to make it public. Again, a resolution declaring that will be strictly enforced going forward from, you know, April 1 or whatever, well, whatever day we approve that, publish it as a public notice. And then if we're having particularly chronic problems, send out individual notices to those property owners.
we probably also, as part of that, need to instruct our road and bridge personnel
Yeah, to take note.
to take note.
I would assume that once you do that, that the road and bridge department does not ask the road and bridge operators to make contact or anything. They go back to their supervisor.
Right.
Do this, yeah.
No, just
It's-
to make note of it,
yes.
to get to where it needs to.
Yeah.
No, they don't need to confront it.
Right.
Well, actually, it would come then to, like, King then to us or something to go ahead and act the enforcement, come back here so that we can then enforce it. I don't know that any of them need to actually confront anybody.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that it comes back to supervisor, we figure out how we wanna notify them people if there's a problem
Yeah.
with it, and then we, public notice, I guess, first.
Yeah, I
But-
think that's the first step, of which, you know, we need to determine how, we're gonna run them in both papers for how long, which I would think we would wanna do.
Yeah, I would agree.
Probably a 2 to 3 week period, I would guess.
Give people an opportunity, in case they miss one paper, to see
Right.
it more than once.
So if you could bring that back to us, I don't know how long, I need to get it back in the next couple of weeks, would that give you enough time?
Something like that, just a straight up, we don't have any research to do or anybody else to check it with. Just bring that back.
Do you happen to have a resolution for parking like for the side by signs?
UTVs. Mhm. I have drafted one. I did not talk to Isaac yet, though. I got that email from you. So I was gonna run that past him yet.
Okay, he was here today, and I know they were looking at getting their brochure signed, so.
I will get a hold of him.
Anything else before we go into executive session? How long do you need, Brad?
I think 10 minutes should probably be enough.
Is that for attorney-client privilege?
Mm-hmm. Matters of, related to litigation.
10 minutes?
I think so.
Okay, I'll move we recess into executive session in order to discuss matters of litigation, number 2 for consultation with our attorney-client privilege, to include the commission, Brad and Tina, until 10:35. We'll resume back into open session.
Second.
Seconded by Randy. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
First. I'm kidding.
I know, it was close.
Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. Okay. This time we are ready for any public comments.
Oh. Yeah, here they come, they're coming. They're
Yeah,
kind
going
of
back
slow,
in.
but here they come.
Public comments.
Need a bill in the hallway.
Yeah, I suppose you do.
Everybody in?
Not everybody.
Not everybody. That's coming?
Come on.
Okay, we're at the end of the agenda, so if there's any public comments, we'll take them right now. If you have any, state your name and we'll go from there.
Oh, them are 5 minutes.
Well, I
We're
didn't
sitting
really
here
have
waiting.
anything,
Public-
but I suppose if nobody else does, I'll think one up right fast. My name's Randy Eitzen. I just really wish that the commissioners would reconsider putting a moratorium on the wind farm project. Just looking over the new CUP this morning, I kind of understood that they were going to apply for a whole new CUP, but basically all they did is apply for what looks to me like about 17 or 18 just kind of small areas around the existing one. I guess some of it makes sense to me, and some of it's like, well, you don't even have any wind turbines on them. And then I seen one where they took like about 15 acres off of an 80-acre tract, asked for a CUP on it, so they could put one turbine right on the boundary, but then they had the road going to the turbine where they weren't even asking for a CUP. It just looked, I know I get confused easily, but they sure did a good job of confusing me.
but it just seems like we're finding more and more out about this company with all their LLCs and financial problems, and we also started looking at a route that they would run the trucks, and I don't know how they're going to make it. I don't know how they're going to make that work. Like on three or four intersections that they almost have to use. There's just almost no, there's too many things with this project, that just don't look good at all. So I really wish you would consider one more time to put a moratorium on. I mean, I kind of think that we as a community have kind of shown the last 5 or 6 weeks, what the opposition is and what the people for it are. It just looks like it's almost a no-brainer to kind of take a second or third look at this deal, and either put a moratorium on it or just stop it all together. Before we have all kinds of problems for just a real small amount of gain. I guess that's all I got.
Thank you, Randy.
I just have a question. Is there, if it is a moratorium, could they sue?
We don't know that. Your question to Brad.
Kind of is the almost cliche answer is you can sue anybody about any time, and so I wouldn't say that they couldn't.
Okay.
I have a question. What is a CUP?
Conditional use permit.
Conditional use permit.
I didn't know either, but we can have. Okay.
It's a cup.
Okay.
Question back here.
So we know.
Charlie?
Yeah, I'm Charles Lowen, and I'm like Randy, I don't know how you're gonna get down half these roads. Peabody Cantor Road's got a 15-ton bridge on it, and there are a lot of 3 and 6-ton bridges these guys have got to cross to get somewhere with their pickups, trucks, anything. And railroad tracks, how they get across the railroad tracks, they got one place where it's not that much of a hill on it, they gotta go over. That is 1/30th is the only one that they can cross low, and how this is all gonna happen.
Well, the intersection of 110 and Pawnee is the one they really want to use, and that would be
They
a
can't go
horrible
over that one either.
That'd
I
be a
farmed it.
horrible one. No, that the one right to
Well.
the east of there.
I
That's a bad
still
intersection.
around all of them, I drive every one of those all the time
Right.
with my equipment.
Right.
And you can't drag a 40-foot header trailer across it. So, how these guys are gonna do that, I mean, you guys need to look into the road part, because they're gonna tear the heck out of 3 main roads that I need to agree.
Well, up north, what they did when they had a big hill or something, they put about probably 5 foot, 6 foot of rock
But-
and made it
But how are they gonna
flat.
cross the railroad tracks? That's what I can't believe the tracks are gonna let them do it. That equipment.
Any other
Yeah, I got a
comments?
comment. I went to the planning and zoning last week, and they, a couple things concerned me was, they said, well, for devaluation of property, that was our opinion. It wasn't a fact. And, a lot of things, anything we would say would be an opinion. I mean, and I've got all sorts of documentation here. That bothered me. Another thing is I asked them if they were gonna vet the company. Because this company, if you don't vet this company, you shouldn't be, these guys are crooked. And I don't know why you are not vetting the company. And I don't know whose responsibility. They told me it's not their responsibility. It's not your responsibility.
terms of very much like what's been done by citizens, but commissioners can individually do that. You can, and I assume Pat would not disagree, I haven't approached that with him,
Sure.
as a commission ask for, you know, bona fide kinds of documentation. A lot of it's public record anyway that we can check. There's a limit as to how far you can go, but within that limit, there's quite a bit of information that's publicly available. Public filings, you can, I believe, and that's subject to his correction, since he's the one consulting on this, in terms of financial security and their capability to produce what
Perform.
yeah. We also have the ability, as is used in a lot of these instances, for those performance kinds of bonds. But I'm gonna stop short on saying too much more about that because I've not researched that in this kind of a setting. It's absolutely, when we contract with an entity, appropriate for us to always do the performance bond in addition to a general liability bond. When it's an entrepreneurial venture who comes in here merely for permitting purposes, I'm not sure if that goes as far, and I'll be honest with you, because it has not been something I've run across. But it would seem logical to me that there's an ability for us to at least look at that possibility and see what is available. And again, I've not discussed it with Pat at all, or with their legal
I wonder if
counsel.
there's been any projects around the country where there actually was a performance.
Yeah, that's the first thing I'd want to find out too, and he may well know right off the top of his head. I just have not talked to him about it. That's something that occurred to me last week in the course of a discussion as to how this was going to be postured in terms of the CUP that was coming in. But I thought I'd ask him and see what he thought.
That would be good.
And a lot of times, and we talk about bonds, and bonds are fine, but then the companies kind of twist your arm into taking that letter of credit. And now that's where I have a huge issue, because if they go bankrupt, I don't know how good that letter of credit is.
The letter of credit, if it's done correctly, is still worth a great deal because that's the full faith and credit of the banking institution that issues it.
Right.
And the bank orders them to pay a fairly healthy sum on an annualized basis to maintain that. And we can always ask for assurance that that's current and that it's available. And then what happens if they violate the terms of that, and those are usually fairly express, then it's just a payout. It's not even, you don't even argue over insurance liability. It's basically you either did this or you didn't. If you didn't, here's the money. And that allows the county then to make whole its citizens in terms of any road damage or any other issues that may arise. And again, it depends on how far the letter of credit goes. If it also extends to performance with regard to citizens and payments that were promised as a condition of even beginning, and those weren't made, all of that can potentially be lumped into that as well.
I don't know that I've ever seen, did they, just refresh my memory, did we actually see the letter of credit that we got up? We never seen it.
We haven't, we do have a letter of
But
credit.
they're
So you
supposed
have,
to
but I'm
provide a
saying,
copy.
I don't think that I've ever seen
I
it.
can't say that as witness it.
Yeah, and I would like to see that. I mean, that's an interesting thing.
You do. I mean, at least you want to be very careful in how it's worded. In my own experience in the past, that thing covers what you intend for it to cover.
When I've learned that, even in contracts,
Yeah.
the wording is
It's all important.
extremely important.
And, when you don't do them every day, say, I just need something simple. Why does this have to be 12 pages long? For that reason. So that we anticipate a lot of the different kinds of contingencies that can arise, have arisen in the past, but most people just don't even think of. If they're not there, then that's where the problem exists. No different, quite frankly, than insurance. I mean, if it's not set up to cover everything, then it doesn't. And, you're sitting there with
Those
a letter.
letters do have a lot of clout.
Oh, they do.
Because the financial institution that issued that has stuck their neck out
Yeah.
a long way.
And they absolutely charge accordingly, and they will basically.
Absolutely. Some of those are very expensive to issue.
Yeah, and they will observe them because they're stuck. I mean,
Yeah.
It's
Is there
insurance.
a limit on those, how long they last?
They're
I mean, are they
specified
indefinite?
typically. Well,
You specify
the-
in the contract.
yeah, the term of the letter of credit has an outside limit typically, and it also has a yearly payment at the very minimum that is due by the company who it's issued for. And what we have is, I want to know that that payment has been made no less than, fill in like 60 days or 45 days before its annual expiration date, and that we receive notice that that has been done, so we know it's always in place and never lapsed.
Well,
Has anyone heard when they're going to be fixing the roads up north? Does anybody know anything about that?
See, that's all in our maintenance agreement, and that's one of the reasons why I was asking the question, because we have a contract that is not being fulfilled.
Yeah, I can't see that they've done.
Our engineer's still up there.
Yeah.
I see him.
And that's very unusual, because normally they, when they're done with the project, they have their roads fixed and stuff, and out of there within a real short period of time now. They're talking like July or something,
Yeah, and I don't
maybe.
know that there's some wiggle room in that sort of thing, if they're still out doing maintenance or double checking lines and that kind of thing, because I know they've been out there, doing some, looking at some of the transmission lines and that sort of thing, settling on ground and anyway, but, so I suppose that could be the reason, but I've not heard that. I don't know why we've not had action on the repairs and remediation of all that.
Of course, they haven't done much of anything this
Yeah.
winter.
No.
It's kind of just stalled for a while, during the season it's been wet, so I don't know.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Okay.
I just want to say one thing, I want to thank Yvonne for her dedication for the last year and a half, however long it was, for actually doing the videoing of the meetings and getting those cards to Jean and getting them posted promptly and things. She was fully volunteered, and she did spend a lot of her time and started a whole new era, shall we say, for the commission. And I think the people of the county really do enjoy them.
I've heard a lot of
I
people
do
say
want to, I do want to thank her for all of her hard work and all of her volunteer time.
Are you starting a new profession? Oh, okay.
Okay, if that's it, I will make a motion to adjourn.
We had one more.
Since you bring it up,
Gentlemen,
what is, you have the link set up, do you have, so that people can know where to find
Tina,
it?
I think he's
Tina will
asking you.
answer that.
They'll still be in the same place they have been.
So they'll still be on the MCC TV?
Yes, and then we'll set up a link from the Marion County website, right from the homepage.
Just trying to make sure it gets in the minutes that way.
Good, thank you.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded that? You both did. You won.
Take your pick.
Let Randy have it.
Yeah, I know.
It's easier to make the public aware if it's in the minutes.
Yes, thank you.
That was one of the shortest meetings I've been at.
Yeah, it's been quite short.